Hello there, my name is the Lone Vault Wanderer. To celebrate the launch of the new Fallout show on Prime Video, the fine folks at Vault-Tec have commissioned me to create this Wasteland survival guide. If you ever find yourself in the unfortunate situation of seeing a nuke dropped in the distance, don't panic. Simply raise your thumb, and if the cloud is smaller than your thumb, run away. However, if it's bigger, all you need to do is pull out an even bigger thumb and you'll be just fine. Next up, be sure to equip your Robco Pip-Boy at all times. These handy little devices have an inbuilt Geiger counter, allowing you to detect radiation and help you stay away from objects which might make you feel a little unwell. However, in this harsh wasteland, radiation exposure is inevitable, so power armor really is your best friend. It might be clunky and as hot as fire ants' breath in there, but the radiation protection it provides will help stop you from kicking the bucket, or worse, becoming a ghoul. All episodes of Fallout are streaming on Prime Video, so watch now. The Fallout Prime Video show has loads of references and Easter eggs relating to the games, so in today's video, I'm going to show you all the ones that I found just in the first episode. Please let me know in the comments if I missed out on anything, and let's get to the video. The first song that plays in the Fallout Prime Video show is Orange Colored Sky by Nat King Cole. The very first time that Orange Colored Sky was used in conjunction with the Fallout series was in a TV spot for Fallout New Vegas, though it later appeared in Fallout 4's Diamond City Radio and Fallout 76's Appalachia Radio. This is of course quite fitting, as both the Fallout show and Fallout New Vegas are based in the west of the United States of America, including California and Nevada. Though this has not been confirmed officially by Bethesda or Prime Video, in almost all likelihood, the name of the character Cooper Howard, played by Walton Goggins, is likely a reference to Todd Howard of Bethesda Game Studios. Todd, of course, directed both Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, produced Fallout 76, and executive produced the Fallout show. The radio host mentions that the White House had no comment about the president's whereabouts. This is because the president of the United States at the time was part of the Enclave and fled to an offshore Enclave oil rig in order to protect himself from the inevitable Great War. In a news report, the TV anchor makes mention of something occurring in Anchorage, Alaska between America and her adversaries. This is of course referring to the conflict in Alaska, which began in the year 2066 when the Chinese invaded Alaska in order to take control of its oil reserves and pipelines. The US retaliated, importantly deploying the T-51 Power Armor variant and eventually driving out the Chinese by early 2077. However, due to the pipeline running through Canada, this caused a further conflict between Canada and the US as well, subsequently leading to the US annexing Canada and fighting Canadian freedom fighters right up until the Great War. So when the news anchor refers to America's adversaries, in that instance he's likely referring to Canada specifically. At Roy's birthday party, Cooper is asked to do his thumbs up. This is teased out further in the episode and series, but the show implies that Cooper Howard began doing his now popular thumbs up while being commissioned by Vault-Tec to advertise their vaults. The implication here is that based on this, Vault-Tec went on to design the Vault Boy to also have a thumbs up, thereby mimicking or referencing Cooper Howard himself, but more on that in a bit. Again, back to the TV, but when Mrs. Spencer is changing channels, you can see a number of references to different products in the Fallout games. This includes Nuka-Cola, a car possibly resembling a fusion flea, sugar bombs, and of course, Grognak the Barbarian. For the latter, specifically an episode of Grognak and the Ruby Ruins is playing, which features in Fallout 4 as a Pip-Boy holotape game published by Hubris Comics Game Studio in 2063. So when Janie asks her dad, Cooper, why he wouldn't do a thumbs up, Cooper explains the origin of his thumbs up. In the Marines, they were taught that if they ever saw a big bomb drop, they should hold up their thumb, and if the cloud is smaller than their thumb, they needed to run for the hills. But if it was bigger, they were told not to bother running. Again, thanks to the connections made later in the series, this may confirm a long-argued fan theory dating back years about why the iconic Vault Boy is frequently depicted as raising his thumb. Now, Brian Fargo, the head and founder of Interplay, the original developers and publishers of Fallout, did try to debunk this rumor in 2013 by saying the Vault Boy simply has a positive attitude. Tremel Ray Isaac, an artist who worked on Fallout and Fallout 2, also reiterated that it was just a thumbs up saying everything is okay, and nothing more than that. Though it seems now that the Fallout show, which Todd Howard has confirmed is canon to the franchise, is changing things up and confirming that fan theory as to why the Vault Boy holds his thumb up. And since Bethesda are now the holders of Fallout lore, it's really hard to argue against that. However, if you really think about it, all parties may be correct in their own way. Vault-Tec may have simply depicted the Vault Boy as having a thumbs up and a positive attitude because they got the idea from Cooper Howard when he advertised the vaults. But they may have had no idea as to the real origin story underpinning why Cooper chose to do a thumbs up in the first place. As far as we know, he only ever explained the origin to his daughter and perhaps not to Vault-Tec directly. So Vault-Tec may have just thought Cooper Howard was displaying a positive attitude and therefore instilled that with the Vault Boy. Let me know what you think about my theory. This of course goes without saying, but Vault 33 contains many Vault-Tec and Vault Boy posters which have appeared in the games and various promotional materials, though I think I'd go crazy trying to list them all. In the first scene with Lucy McLean, she is applying for marriage and explaining how she has repair, science, and speech skills, just like some of the skills in the games prior to Fallout 4. However, also notice that she only mentions 3 skills specifically. This is likely because in the games, players can choose 3 tag skills to act as the character's specializations. So in other words, the show might be saying that Lucy's tag skills are repair, science, and speech. To double down on this, Lucy even says that while she dabbles in riflery, she's not very good, possibly because small guns isn't one of her tag skills. The blackboard in Vault 33 confirms the years of several important dates in the lore of Fallout. 2077 of course was the year of the Great War, but 1969 was the year in which the 13 Commonwealths were formed. At this time, they also adopted a new 13-star Commonwealth flag, which is also represented on the blackboard. And then, just like in the real world, the Declaration of Independence was signed in the year 1776. Lucy's brother Norman is depicted as playing games on his Pip-Boy in the show, which is a nod to how in Fallout 4 you can also play holotape games on your Pip-Boy Mark IV. It also looks like Norm is playing Atomic Command, which directly appears in Fallout 4 as a holotape game as well. The sound effects which play when Lucy's marriage application is approved via her Pip-Boy are the Karma Up sound which appears in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and also the sound which plays when you complete challenges in Fallout New Vegas. A big thanks to Sean in my Discord for helping me figure the latter one out. The variant of the Vault Boy bobblehead which appears in episode 1 of the show looks to be the Big Guns bobblehead, but strangely, without the Vault Boy holding the minigun. Also as a side note, it's possible that Kilter Films purchased this specific Vault Boy bobblehead from Mrs. Fallout. Mrs. Fallout is a popular Fallout creator on TikTok and YouTube who says that she sold a bobblehead to the prop department for the show. If this is in fact the very same bobblehead, that would be a pretty cool moment for her. Lucy's dad, Hank, refers to his daughter as My Little Sugar Bomb, which of course is referencing Sugar Bomb's cereal in the games. The way that Chet opens the door to Vault 32 with his Pip-Boy is a concept that was introduced in Fallout 4, when the player character first obtains a Pip-Boy and opens the door of Vault 111. In fact, the opening mechanism is almost an exact replica of the one in Fallout 4. Relatedly, when Chet says he can't open the vault door, he says it's because of a textbook Tumblr jam. This is a reference to Tumblrs today, which are a range of skill books and perk magazines in Fallout 3, 4, and New Vegas, related to locksmithing and mechanical locks found in doors, among other things. The quote-unquote overseer of Vault 32 mentions that blight hit their wheat in the vault, which is a consumable fungus in Fallout 4's Far Harbor and Fallout 76. When consumed, blight provides a dose of radiation and a chance to cause disease, which would be quite fitting in the context of the show if the story was true. Though because Hank does believe the story, it might still confirm that blight has in fact made its way to the west coast of the USA and is not just an east coast phenomenon. In Fallout 76, blight is also a disease that can be inflicted by diseased scorch beasts, grafted monsters, megasloths, and Milo queens. But because none of those creatures seemingly exist in the show, the blight must have appeared via other means. Again, if blight does actually exist. We know that Lucy uses a stim pack to heal her knife wound in the first episode, though specifically, it looks to be modelled more after the slightly altered stim pack design in Fallout 4 as opposed to the one used in 3 in New Vegas. One of the invaders in Vault 33 uses Jet before trying to attack Chet. This makes sense as Jet in the games is a methamphetamine, activating a rush of energy in the body. While Jet in Fallout 3 and New Vegas provides the user with more action points, in Fallout 4, it creates an altered state of consciousness where time appears to slow, allowing you to perform more actions than normal for a limited period of time. When the telesonic magic of 3D camera breaks in Vault 33, a please stand by sign appears in place of the background. This specifically looks to be the grey variant of the image which appeared in the announcement trailer for Fallout 4, though there are some minor differences, namely the spacing between the circles. Again, another obvious one, but the storyline of Hank being abducted from Vault 33 and Lucy chasing after him parallels the plot in Fallout 3 where the Lone Wanderer leaves Vault 101 to find his father. This show contains a lot of similarities to Fallout 3, likely because Jonathan Nolan, executive producer of the show and director of the first 3 episodes, has mentioned several times how much of a huge fan he is of Fallout 3 specifically. In the Brotherhood of Steel camp, Dane says the line, "Flesh is weak, but steel endures." Now of course, the line "Flesh is weak" features in a lot of other IP, including 40k, and it might find its earliest origins in the Bible, which makes sense given the quasi-religious dogmatic approach of the Brotherhood of Steel chapter in the show. However, it could also be a reference to the Mechanist in Fallout 4, who says the following. Quote, "My robotic children, my glorious creations, we stand tonight at the dawn of a new era. For too long, the human vermin of Boston have destroyed this fair city. The flesh is weak, but steel is strong. You, my children, will usher in a new age, an age of robots, led by me, your father, the Mechanist." The flag we see raised at the Brotherhood of Steel camp is the variant with 13 red and white stripes, flown by Alliance's East Coast Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 3 as early as the year 2277. Though, in a listing of a real-life version of this flag on the Bethesda Gear Store, they said the following. Quote, "Vexillologists speculate that this very flag was raised over the Lost Hills bunker at the founding of the Brotherhood of Steel, handled by Captain Maxon himself. If this is indeed canon, it would make sense as the Lost Hills Brotherhood of Steel bunker is also located in California, and this chapter of the Brotherhood is receiving orders from the Commonwealth, possibly by Arthur Maxon himself, who was raised by Alliance's East Coast Brotherhood of Steel when they used the flag. More on that later. This chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel uses the rank Squire. Interestingly, in the games, Squire was used as a rank for children who were either born or brought into the Brotherhood of Steel, and they were not allowed to perform any combat tasks. Notably, in Fallout 3, Arthur Maxon was also a Squire as a child, and Squire children served on board the Prydwen in Fallout 4 in the year 2287, only 12 years prior to the year of the show's story. Now, clearly some of these Brotherhood of Steel members in the show were recruited as children, but despite their age, they don't yet have the rank of Squire, only Aspirant. So, either this chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel has implemented a slightly altered ranking system, or the East Coast Brotherhood of Steel changed the meaning of the rank altogether and then rolled that out to the West Coast chapter. Furthermore, it's also unknown why they're not mentioning the rank of Initiate either. The Brotherhood of Steel airship which appears in episode 1 of the show is in fact the Prydwen, the exact same airship which appeared in Fallout 4. Interestingly, this airship was incorrectly named the Caswanan in an exclusive Vanity Fair article before the release of the show. But if you look closely in this scene, you can see the word Prydwen to the left of the Brotherhood of Steel insignia in white writing. Since the Prydwen then leaves this Brotherhood of Steel base, it was likely sent over from the East Coast to provide this chapter with reinforcements for the mission, which of course is to obtain a relic held by an escaped Enclave scientist. The power armor which features prominently by this Brotherhood of Steel chapter in the show is of course the T-60, which was an evolution of the T-45 and was rolled out after the Battle of Anchorage but prior to the Great War. Though the big difference between this Brotherhood of Steel T-60 and the ones we see in Fallout 4 is that the insignia on the front is red as opposed to white. However, look closely on the left arm of these T-60s. The red symbol there indicates that these Brotherhood of Steel members are in fact knights as opposed to paladins, therefore being consistent with the rank markings in the games. Additionally, they also adopt the same red color from Fallout 4. Both in Vault 33 and the Brotherhood of Steel camp, you can see a variant of the Nuka-Cola vending machine, which has a slightly different look than it does in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. The power armor station which is holding the T-60 is almost an exact copy of the one that appeared in Fallout 4. The rifle held by the Brotherhood of Steel Knight in Maximus's flashback and also later on by Knight Titus is a very similar design to the new design of the assault rifle in Fallout 4. This one might be a stretch as it's very blurry and difficult to see, but the magazine which is on top of this bedside table in the Brotherhood of Steel camp looks to be a version of the Tesla Science magazine from Fallout 4. Specifically, I think it's issue 6, Geckos and Gamma Radiation, the Key to Prolonged Life. This would of course make a lot of sense in a Brotherhood of Steel camp with their obsession over and mission to collect pre-war tech. In Vault 33, the way they dispose of dead bodies is by composting them, which further confirms that each Vault-Tec vault might have slightly different ways of dealing with the dead. For instance, in Fallout 3's Vault 101, dead bodies are incinerated, whereas in Fallout 4's Vault 111, they are stored in spare cryogenic pods. But of course, since Vault 33 grows crops, it makes sense that corpses are used as a form of compost. Outside of Vault 33, you can see several bodies covered in layers of ash, similar to the body casts in Pompeii, Italy. This one is definitely a stretch, but it could be a very slight nod to Fallout 76, where petrified corpses litter Appalachia due to the lingering effects of the Scorched Plague. Though the show makes no mention of a Scorched Plague existing in California or the West Coast, so there's a little chance that these bodies have become petrified due to it. If they had, it would absolutely be a talking point in the show. Vault 33 is located in Santa Monica, near the Santa Monica Pier, which itself is part of a region referred to as the Boneyard in Fallout lore. The Boneyard features in the original Fallout and is also described by the Fallout 2 manual as follows. Quote, "The city of Los Angeles must have been the largest in the world before the war. The LA Boneyard stretched forever. The skeletons of buildings lying under the hot sun. Not even the wind entered this dead city." Of course, this is quite fitting for many segments of the show, as you'll go on to find out. In Maximus's flashback, you can see that he survived a nuke of some kind by hiding in a refrigerator. It would not surprise me whatsoever if this is a reference to Indiana Jones, where Indy survives a nuclear explosion by hiding in a lead-lined fridge. But how is this a reference to the games? Well, in Fallout New Vegas, if you have the Wild Wasteland trait, you can find a skeleton in a fridge near Goodsprings. This skeleton wears a suave gambler hat, and itself is a reference to Indiana Jones. So it's possible the show is doing something similar here, which wouldn't surprise me as Todd Howard is a huge Indiana Jones fan and is the executive producer for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, in development currently by Machine Games. When Maximus is being interrogated, he says he wants to help the Brotherhood make the world better, referencing the name Eden. Of course, this name has origins in the Bible, but it could also be a slight nod to the Garden of Eden creation kit, or GECK. The GECK is a terraforming device provided to some vaults by Vault-Tec in order to help them establish settlements after the Great War. And yes, Shady Sands, which is mentioned later in the show, was built using a GECK by citizens of Vault 15. Back in the Brotherhood of Steel camp, we again see another magazine, but this time it's a Guns and Bullets issue 6, The Moon, a Communist Doomsday Device. So after all, I wouldn't be surprised if that previous magazine was indeed a Tesla Science magazine too. Plus, the Brotherhood of Steel having copies of Guns and Bullets seems very fitting as well. Elder Cleric Quintus mentions that their mission comes from the highest clerics in the Commonwealth, which is likely referring to the Brotherhood of Steel's Commonwealth chapter led by Elder Arthur Maxon in Fallout 4. Now, because the show is set in the year 2296 and Fallout 4 in the year 2287, with Maxon only being 20 years old there is every chance he is still alive by the time the show occurs and is in fact the one ultimately responsible for handing down these orders. This is especially so because, as I mentioned, it was the Prydwen which provided the knights who went on searching for the Remnant in California. Who knows, Maxon might even make an appearance in Season 2 of the show. The person guarding the graveyard where the ghoul is buried is killed by a junk jet, which of course features in Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, and technically in Fallout 3 as the rocket launcher. And finally, the song that plays during the ending credit sequence of Episode 1 is Crawl Out Through the Fallout by Sheldon Allman, which featured in Fallout 4 on Diamond City Radio. So anyways, Wastelanders, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.